Okay, hi, it's me. All right, so let me try to explain this crazy dream of this floating vanity that I have. So we've got a vanity, big long vanity, about 90 inches long, and I want, see how it says, this is a full scale drawing of it. Sometimes I just have to draw things out full scale and just to really wrap my mind around it. So I don't know if you can read that, it says open below. So the vanity is off the ground, it's not sitting on the ground. And it's also a few inches away from the wall behind it. So in other words, this vanity is floating, except that it's fastened on the two ends. So basically what we're building here is like a kind of a big bridge. It's got to carry a lot of weight, and it's got to span that without sagging and be very strong if somebody sits on it or whatever. So the way that I'm going to accomplish this, my idea to accomplish this, instead of a face frame on the front of this thing that's like, decorative, there's going to be like a structural face frame. And I'm going to do this 1.5 inches wide. So like a 2x4. And this thing's going to be made like a truss. But it will be made out of this UV treated plywood that I use for all my plywood boxes, for all my cabinet boxes. So I'm going to build the cabinet box, but instead of being open on the front for a decorative face frame later, we're actually going to build a front onto it as well, out of the same material. In fact, we're going to make it double thick. So, and then it'll have all of our drawer openings in it too. So it will be one big, thick, solid piece of wood with all these holes cut out. So in other words, it's going to be almost like a truss, okay? And so I am going to cheat in the back. So behind the vanity, I'm going to have kind of recessed back down where you can't see it unless you're really reaching over the top. I will have like a white 4x4, like lagged into a stud, and then this will be lagged into that. And then at the precise location where that blocking is going to be in the back, I'm going to have like this gusseted 2x4 fastened into the side of one of these dividers. So that will be about midway through. That'll be some support. You will never, you can't see it. You won't know it's there, but that'll be some support that'll kind of cheat and help out a lot. If this thing is just a total dog and it's not working, I'll put a leg under it and that'll be okay. But I'd really like it to float, and I really want it away from the back, so then the ceramic can just run down the back. I've got this beautiful wall washing light that can just wash light down behind it, and should be really cool. So yeah, that's a lot of talking, a lot of explanation. Let's just do it and see if we can do it. Okay, I've got a ton of layout to do here on those two pieces of UV treated plywood that are laminated together. So just laying out all the drawer divisions, where the cutouts will be, and even where that one support is going to be lagged in. So just a ton of layout to do before I cut it all out. We got this thing all cut out. There's a lot of drawers in it. Normally in a vanity, you'd have some big cabinets because the people that make the cabinets don't know where the plumbing is, and so they leave plenty room for the plumbing and all that. Since this is a custom cabinet, I'm doing it for myself, I can build these drawers in such a way that it goes around the plumbing. So we'll get creative with that, but that also allows us to maximize our space because the drawers are so much more useful than like just a big spacious cabinet. So this thing's all cut out. Like I said, it's double thick, so it's an inch and a half thick, like a 2x4. And so the question is, if this was a beam or a bar joist or a truss or something, like how strong would that be? We got an 8-foot span, inch and a half thick material, but there's a lot of cells cut out there, so it feels very strong. So that's the idea. This other camera's beeping. So we'll see how this works out. I did it all with a jigsaw. I kind of wish I maybe would have done the longer runs with a track saw, but it's just, I don't know. I got a lot to clean up because the jigsaw's so imperfect, but who knows what would have been better. Always second guessing. Anyways, there it is. Okay, so now I'm just laying out dominoes to attach this big old heavy duty face frame to the box. This is that one gusseted divider. Gusseted just means it has that 2x4 box on it. So that will be inside the cabinet about halfway and be lagged into a stud behind it. So that was the one support I was talking about. Here I'm just continuing to put some dominoes where they need to be to put this thing together. Here's my son Carson just giving me a hand putting all these dominoes in. We're just gluing and dominoing everything. So typically on a lot of these boxes and a lot of the stuff I do a combination of dominoes, which is that almost like a biscuit, domino shaped biscuit that connects these things, and then glue and then pocket screws. So that threefold trifecta is really super strong. Even two of those would be good, but I'm just trying to really overbuild this thing so it just really kind of acts as one big unit. Incidentally, this is the first video I've put out where I have two versions. I have a version that's express and like super fast time-lapse, and then one that's a little more drawn out. This one isn't going quite as fast, and I have a running commentary, obviously, and yeah, as you'll see, there's a lot of breaks where I talk to the camera about the process and how it's going and stuff like that. So if you're more on the entertainment side and less on the instructional side, that might be the version for you. And for videos that come out in the future, just look for those two different videos so you get what you want. So this thing goes together relatively quickly, but still there's a ton of pocket screws to go through. And then I wouldn't normally do this, but there was even places I went through and finished nailed. I just wanted to make sure every part of this thing was glued and fastened well and just as solid as possible. It just has a lot more literally riding on it than a normal cabinet. And if you notice there, that place on top where I'm nailing right there and now I'm running some screws in, that's where that gusseted partition is. And so even though there's an extra space between those drawers there, you can't see it now, but that extra space won't be visible. That'll be made up for in the drawer fronts that go over it. So they'll break in the right places and the drawers will all be symmetrical. When you open the drawer, if you're really paying attention, you'll be able to tell that there's more on the one side. But anyways, just doing a quick sand up here. Okay, and here's the cherry boards I'm laying out that will make up the face of this thing. So basically I want to make one giant slab of cherry, and then all of the drawer fronts that I want that slatted finish on. They're basically going to be cut out of one big piece. So we're just taking those cherry boards and planing them from a rough mill down to a fine finish. Can't remember if those started at 8/4 or 6/4, but they're pretty thick boards to start with. Okay. Is it rolling? Okay.
You know it is.
All right. This that I'm making right here is for the front of the vanity, the drawer fronts. You will see, but I'm going to make them slatted, and so the seams will almost disappear, and so it'll kind of look like just this fluted piece of cherry on the front of this floating vanity. So I'm hoping that looks cool. That's my plan. So to accomplish that, I'm not making, I mean, I will make, but I'm starting with a one big piece. I think I got 6/4 cherry here. And so I'm going to edge glue these pieces, and this is big enough for the whole vanity. And then I'm gonna cut, I'm gonna do all the flutes while it's all one piece, slats, whatever you wanna call it. And then we'll cut out each individual drawer front. So what I've got marked out, it was actually a lot of layout because I'm joining these with dominoes, and I don't want a domino to land at the edge of a drawer or the seam of a board at the edge of a drawer. So I laid out the panels in a certain way, and I laid out the dominoes in a certain way. So I've got the drawers laid out and then dominoes within the drawers. And so hopefully I did everything right. So I'm setting the dominoes actually really low here because the top 1/2 inch or so of this will have those grooves in it. So I had to keep the dominoes really deep in the board, or shallow from the other side, however you look at it, so that, you know, we don't get into those when we dado or router. I'm not sure how we're gonna do it, but we're gonna make all these grooves. So got to keep the dominoes away from that so they're not exposed later. Otherwise, yeah, we're good to go. I'm gonna edge glue this up, clamp it, then we'll sand it and start cutting all of our grooves, and can't wait. Let's do it. That's a little too close. All right. Here is my mock-up for these drawer fronts for the vanity. I wanted to get this vertical pattern going with the slats. And so here's some different mock-ups of what that might look like. I've got some different depths and different, slightly different patterns going on there. So that's my big chunk of cherry. Big chunk of cherry that's been joined together. So it's big cherry slab. I'm going to cut that out for all the drawer fronts for the vanity. But I want to get all these slats done first, and to do those, I need to do the layout across the top of that sucker. So I'm going to work on layout right now, so that it works out just perfectly. Like there's a cut right at the edge of a drawer right where one of my dado cuts is. We're making those. You could do that with a router. We have a jig for that. I think I'm going to use dado, which is like a stacked blade for the table saw. So try and get it all laid out tonight so we can hit it first thing in the morning and start getting it cut out. So real exciting stuff over here. Here's the big giant piece of cherry that I made. I got all the drawers laid out on there and how all the slats will break out on all of the drawers. So should be interesting. So what my friend Mark here is doing for me is using that track saw to cut out columns of drawers. So not cutting out every drawer or any drawers horizontally yet, but cutting out vertically the stacks of drawers, because I will run the grooves vertically on that column of drawer fronts all together. And then after the slats are cut in them, then we will cut them into the individual horizontal fronts. So I've got this sled going over my table saw. So I got this groove that I'm going to cut in the face of this cherry, and then I'll run it through, and I will put the notch in there, which will set it up for the next one. Then I'll put the notch in there, and we'll just keep working our way all the way across. And I've done the math, and it should work out perfectly, kind of like that little deal. So sorry, I don't have anybody shooting video for me today. Anyways, So this is actually 3 drawers. It's backwards. 1, 2, 3 drawers. And we're going to cut the groove up all 3 drawers at one time before I cut out the actual drawer fronts. That way everything lines up good and it's easier, blah, blah, blah. So I got that one. And then I've got 3 other pieces over there, 3 or 4 other pieces. It's just a lot of grooves. It's going to take a long time. So I better get to it. Okay, I'm just showing this clip quick because it kind of shows you what we're doing here. So see how that's hopping onto that little peg each time, and it just creates that same gap, and then we're running it through the blades. So that's the demonstration, the mock-up of how this is going to work on a larger scale. And now I do it with the big ones. Still here. I look like it, feel like it. All right, I got all those grooves cut, and I'll have to shoot some B-roll sweeping across it. I'll play that right now. So look at the B-roll. Look at how the grain carries through this. It's really cool. So yeah, the sled thing worked great. It's starting to come together. Like I look at this and it's like, this is really, really cool. And so that's fun when you design something and you kind of see it through to completion here. Like this has a lot of steps left at those. It's gotta be rounded a little bit and stained and everything, but cut into drawers. It's actually a lot thicker than I wanted, so I'm gonna plane it down from the back now. Anyways, great start though. It's really cool. My vision is coming together. So it'll be days, maybe weeks. It'll be quite a while before I see it, but like lucky you guys, you'll get to see it in minutes, what it looks like. So the slab is made slightly big, so that was what I did first. There was just trim it to the perfect size, and now I'm just cutting the actual drawers out. And so the middle 3 have a different layout than the end 2, and so that's why they're kind of spread apart, and it's a slightly different pattern. The middle section has, I think, 3 smaller drawers stacked, and the outside has 2 bigger ones. So that's why we did those separately. But those are all the drawer fronts coming together. Pretty simple, just lining everything up, measuring and cutting. At the tops and bottom of the drawer, I just wanted a slight reveal. So this is just showing kind of a close-up of just taking, I don't know, it's probably 1/16 of an inch off of the top and bottom of those slats. So just another little detail. There's a lot of little detail things we did after they were cut. We did this, and you'll see I kind of did it just a slight round over on those, slightest you can get. I wanted everything to stay pretty crisp and square, but there's still a little bit to kind of breaking edges and softening things a little bit. So that's what I'm doing. The router here now is just it's probably like an 1/8 inch or smallest round over I had, just kind of rounding those tops and bottoms. And I did some tests of that to see how things looked when they came together, and this is what I liked best. So it's kind of trial and error. It's like anything else. I'm not going to show doing this 20 times on 13 different boards. Same with sanding. There's a ton of sanding and cleaning up. I just show you enough to say, hey, we did it, but there's nothing to it. It's just busy work. All right, so making these drawer fronts, they're freaking beautiful. But the slab that I cut them out of, I just made way too thick. I don't know what I was thinking. So, but I couldn't plane it. I don't have a planer big enough to plane that 2-foot wide slab. So I waited until now, after they were cut into the actual size for the drawer fronts, to plane them, which is fine. It's working great. So I'm planing off the back. I had set the dominoes very closely to the back of the panel when I put them in, to the back of the boards, to be out of the way of these grooves. And so, but now that I'm planing the back and I'm making them thinner, I hit those dominoes right away. So you can see all these dominoes that are exposed, and I'm just grinding layers off of them. And it's fine because the boards are, the dominoes are extra strength, and that's great, but the boards are glued together now, so they're set. So we're just planing away pass after pass to get this thinner and thinner. But I just thought I'd show you. It's just a cool look. It's just cool to see these dominoes exposed. There's actually a lot of work to make sure the placement of these dominoes didn't end up at the edge of any of these drawers. So anyways, we're almost there. We'll take a little bit more off, and then we're there with these things. Today what I'm doing is staining. So I did a couple test runs here, just ran out of time basically. Got a good system by the time I was on the second, third one. So I'm gonna go through and stain this. Normally I stain with like this special sponge and I wipe it off with rags. This is different with all these grooves. I was trying to paintbrush, I was tried all kinds of different things. Anyways, what it came down to was like these really cheap, thin paintbrushes. So they can just really get in the groove, and actually worked better than all the expensive stuff that I was buying and trying. Also, time out, and look at how freaking beautiful that car is. This used to be a Tesla channel also, so maybe someday we'll get back to doing some Tesla videos. Actually, we have a Tesla wall being installed on a solar system soon, so I'll do a video of that. That'd be cool. Love Teslas. Okay, here's the wall where we're installing this vanity. The ceramic runs all the way through. Technically, I probably should have had the ceramic guy go a little tighter, those pipes, because there's space behind there, but you just can't see it anyway, so it's not that big a deal. I did put an outlet back there because I had played with maybe having power in some of the drawers for you know, hair dryers and stuff like that, or even like phone chargers, but didn't implement it into the actual cabinet, but it's there if we need power. Okay, here's our cabinet box before it was actually screwed into place. It's just kind of sitting on a toolbox and some other blocking at about the right height. I didn't get any video of installing it, but it's pretty simple. It's a clear span, so basically it's just screwed very well into the studs on either side of it. Then the next thing we need to do was install a cherry veneer on the front of this, because what we've done so far is just structural, it's just plywood, right? So we need to make it finished cherry. So it's not the front. We've got drawer fronts that are going to cover the whole front of the cabinet, but when the drawers are actually open, you need to see cherry also on the frame. So we're just putting a cherry veneer on it, so it looks like a cherry cabinet, and then we'll cut those out. So it's been glued, and we're using a pin nailer there, which is awesome. It shoots nails that are so small you can't even hardly see them after they're in. Don't really need to fill the holes. They're smaller than brads, so really handy tool for this type of application. Got our trim bit here. There's way too many holes cut in here, but that's okay. All right, so we just routed out this, and I'm actually really pleased with it. I thought we were gonna have to clean up the corners because obviously a round bit is gonna leave a radius corner, but it's actually such a small bit and such a small radius that it's not gonna interfere with our drawers, and I like it. It looks good. So it worked perfectly. It's as perfect as our plywood was, which isn't perfect, but it's good enough. And so you can see now that this is cut out, you can see like just this massive basically 1.5 inches. Now it's 1.75 inches thick, like truss, like beam, helping to span the front of this thing. So it's pretty cool. So I'm gonna stain this while I got the tarp down. And then this is ready. I gotta cut out the top so the sinks can fit down in the appropriate place, but otherwise then we're just waiting for the granite to show up. I'm going to, and then when the granite shows up, we'll get the sinks in. I will have them plumb this as neatly and as tight to the back as possible. And then after we see where the plumbing is, then we will make those drawers custom or short of the plumbing or going around the plumbing, whatever we think is the best use of space. So in that way, we're getting rid of any dead cabinet space, any efficient space, and we're just modifying drawers. And so all these big drawers, and it's gonna be great. So, all right, there's the front of the vanity. The only thing that's changed since I just talked a minute ago probably was we got the sinks cut out. So we're all ready for the countertop now. I am going to throw some stain on the front, and we're using a gel. So like on vertical surfaces, the gel is easier, doesn't run down as much. And actually I like the gel better for something like cherry anyways, something that's prone to like blotching, and it just seems like the gel, I don't know if it's not absorbed as fast or as deep or something, but it seems to work a little better. All right, and just like that, the counters are in, plumbing's done. I skipped all that, but I did want to show you. I mean, it's what you'd expect, but just that's the plumbing that we had to design the drawers around in a few different places. So, and then also the last shot here is just, you can see where we kind of bolted through that gusseted frame into that 4x4 behind it. And here's one of those drawers that I drew up and then built. This one just happens to look like it's cut out for male anatomy, but they're all pretty creative. And here are a bunch of maple parts laid out, solid maple drawer parts. I'm not going to dwell on it here. I should make a separate video on just making a simple drawer. But here we are just dominoing, putting holes in the parts for dominoes, and then and now using the Craig to put some pocket screws in it. So these drawers for this project are Craig screws, dominoes, and glue. So pretty simple design. All right, here we are again. Funky drawers over there, working on a lot of drawers. So, I mean, there's drawers everywhere. And so the drawers on the vanity are, wherever they hit plumbing, they're just weird because they're made to go around the plumbing. So that's my crazy idea of being efficient. Here's all the cherry drawer fronts after they were stained. Looks like they're still drying in this picture. So I wanted to put these cool little handle pulls on them. They were kind of slick and out of the way, but I wanted them to finish flush. So I had to just cut a little niche in the top of them for that to fit into. And so this is how I did it. Just on the table saw, the blades set just high enough to get the depth of that handle pull. And then those two blocks that I'm kind of going between were stops that did the perfect width. Here's all the drawers ready to spray. There's kind of some of the weird ones. Actually, in that picture, it looked like they had a coat on them already. But and this is just cool. This is stirring up the lacquer. You can see all the particles kind of engage and swirl in there. It's probably the coolest shot of the whole video right there. That's what gives it its sheen. So the less of those, the more glossy it is what I'm told. All right, here I am. I'm spraying all these maple drawers and the louvered fronts. Maple drawers already have a coat on them. These I coated a couple times, 3 times, then I flipped them over. And so there's something interesting going on here I haven't faced before. So like these fans, when they're pulling lacquer through or whatever, it kind of accumulates on there. Lacquer turns into like this white dust basically when it dries into powder or something before it what's the word, bonds. Anyways, so I've got this going on. I don't know, I can't really tell, but these slats kind of acted like an air filter or something when they were upside down, and I was spraying the backs and it was pulling all the extra mist. I think the fans over there were pulling all the extra mist like right through here. And so I've got all this kind of, you can't really see it, it doesn't look bad on there, but got all this dust accumulating in there, and I'm trying to blow it out, I'm trying to wipe it out. I can't get it. I'm gonna try and spray a couple of these and maybe it'll just blow off, or as soon as it gets wet it'll dissolve or become part of it. I don't know. So the drawers look awesome. I think these are gonna look awesome as long as that's not an issue. So we'll find out. Over and out. Okay, this is fantastic. Spent all this time at the shop, and then you forget that this stuff is actually going somewhere. And it's going to be something. So I got all these drawers in. I just have to put all the drawer fronts on them. But I'm putting the drawer fronts on afterwards because I just want them to be exactly right. So in place, I'll take measurements and we'll get those on. So I'll do those next. But I just wanted to show you how cool these are. There's a few rows of these that actually go around the plumbing. These are kind of hard to pull out, but like, so I can't really see, but like, depends on what's going on, but they go around the plumbing. Actually, so there's a couple of these, like this one. Okay, sorry, my dog was barking at somebody. Anyways, this originally had a board going back that way too. Problem is, for mathematical and errors I'm not going to explain here, it wasn't quite right. So I had to modify the drawer, and instead of rebuild the whole thing, I just took off that side and widened it a little bit. Same deal here, like, so this one has got a lot to go around in there. And there used to be a little board here, we'll just have to make sure junk doesn't fall off. It does look on the drawer below it. Anyways, moral of the story, these are super freaking cool, and they're only gonna get cooler after we get that cherry on the front. So really pumped about these. Just a super efficient use of space because I've got full extension. So not only is everything a drawer, but it comes 100% out of the vanity. So you don't have to look for stuff. I know, I'm getting too winded here. The drawers are gonna be cool, and the drawers are very efficient. How's that? There you go. I am trying to line up the wood grain and make sure I got them all in the right spot. Kind of like connecting the wood grain puzzle here. But then I would literally I started with the first couple, and then I would measure and just make sure everything lined up right. It's about the only way I could do it and get everything to work out right. So I'd measure how far it was over from the last one to the drawer, and do the math and do it that way. And it worked well. It's just kind of a long process. Okay, move that bus. Here it is. Yeah, so I love it. It's pretty much everything I hoped it would be. Just got these on. I will tweak them a little bit, but they're pretty close the way it sits. I love the design. I love the way it worked out. The drawers going around the plumbing. Everything worked out great. So, like I said before, it's all hardwood maple inside. Cherry here, obviously. But what we've got is this whole thing, we can get to 100% of the usable space and without ducking our head in a cabinet or anything, because everything is full extension. So it's super efficient and actually really cool too. This is probably, this and the way this looks, this is, it was a real pain, but this is maybe one of the favorite things I've ever built. I really love it. I like the handles on top. It just, I don't know, it just really worked out good. So yeah, as far as I'm concerned, this is a win. This, like the middle, so you can see how this turned out. This drawer is offset. This drawer is offset to make up for that beam in there. But when everything's closed, you can't tell. It's just all symmetric and all even. All right, full disclosure, I did decide to put a leg under this thing. Not because I really think it needs it, but because I'm kind of a just in case overbuild it type guy. And I just didn't want it to sag over time. Like I tested it, sat on there, it felt very strong, but I could put this in there and it really didn't take away from the aesthetics. Actually, it looks good. So I don't mind it. I don't know if you can see that it's just a cheap like metal leg with an adjustable, it's threaded so it's adjustable. So it's pretty cool. So that worked out. We got that in there, so just peace of mind. Otherwise, yeah, that concludes the video. So thanks for watching. Like and subscribe. I'll see you in the next one. The next leg of the kitchen, or the kitchen, I wish it was the kitchen. Next leg of the bathroom video is coming out. Lots of stuff going on here. We're almost there. So just wrapping up some odds and ends. So I'll see you on that one or whichever one comes next.